In this video, we're going to dive into hyaluronic acid and how I incorporate it into my skincare routine. And as a licensed esthetician, I've been trying to transition into a natural, pure, clean approach to my skincare without sacrificing results. And today we're going to explore all things hyaluronic acid and how it fits into my routine. So first, what is hyaluronic acid?
Hyaluronic acid is a substance in the body that retains moistures in the eyes, the skin, the connective tissue, and lubricates the joints.
I mentioned in my face tallow video that I wanted to make my own hyaluronic acid, and I've done quite a bit of research and I've made a slightly different choice.
To produce hyaluronic acid, they take streptococcus or bacillus bacteria and it's fermented and it creates a soup. And then they extract that, they filter it, and they purify it. Typically, it's purified with ethanol or acetone. And then that results in a powder that ranges in a low molecular weight that is preferred for topical use, and then a higher molecular weight that's better suited for supplements.
In this video, I'll show you what to look for in a hyaluronic acid, whether you're purchasing it, if you're going to try and make your own, and I'll show you the route that I'm going. So now we know what it is and we know what it does in our bodies naturally. We know how it's made synthetically that goes into our serums and also in our supplements that we can take internal. I want to come back to the supplements in a minute and we'll talk about how I plan to eat my skincare. But first, let's do a little skincare anatomy 101 and let's see why that molecular size of any of our serums matter.
The blue represents a product with different molecular sizes, and the smaller the molecules, the deeper the product can penetrate into the skin.
Skin really needs to be able to retain moisture so that our skin barrier can stay intact.
The skin barrier is the protective outermost layer of the skin.
Our skin moisture is measured by something called TOOL, TEWL. So what is TOOL? That's the transepidermal water loss. And that is a means of measuring how much of the water evaporates from our skin into the environment. And this evaporation just disrupts the skin barrier. So what's the skin barrier made of? It's made up of dead skin cells, lipids, proteins, fats. So what are lipids? Lipids are basically ceramides, cholesterol, and fatty acids. And that's all the goodies our skin needs. Guess what tallow is? In a nutshell, it's cholesterol, ceramides, and fatty acids. It's the closest thing that resembles our natural skin barrier. So what's our goal here? To keep moisture in our skin, stop evaporation, and keep our skin barrier intact. And I have something great to retain that moisture. Before we get started talking about the topical approach, I've made a nice warm cup of bone broth. And I think after looking at how hyaluronic is derived synthetically, I think it's pretty important that we understand the ingredients that we're putting in our body and on our skin. Our skin is the largest organ that we have. Everything we put on it absorbs into our body and goes into our system. And then our liver has to clean all that stuff and process it. And I'm going to sit back, enjoy this bone broth, and we're going to talk about all the yummy ways we can eat our skincare.
First, we have bone broth. It's loaded with collagen, hyaluronic acid, glucosamine, chondroitin, and it supports skin and joint health. And then you have your citrus. The vitamin C helps the integrity of the hyaluronic acid. And then you have your nuts, flaxseed, and chia seed. Then you have your leafy green vegetables, kale, spinach, collards. They're high in magnesium, essential for hyaluronic acid production. Then you have your root vegetables. You have sweet potatoes, regular potatoes, carrots, beets, jicama. And then you have things like chicken skin and sardines with the bone in them. And then, of course, you can't forget echinacea. It also helps the body produce hyaluronic acid. So, me and Bo will be looking into more uses for the echinacea.
I also grow a lot of my own herbs and veggies, and believe it or not, it's time to get started on seed starting. If this is something you are interested in doing yourself, if you do it or you're interested in learning it, hit like and subscribe because it's fixing to get busy around here. So for my topical skincare, instead of hyaluronic acid, I've chosen to go with something a little bit different, but a whole lot the same. but a little bit different. It's actually an ingredient that is in practically every hyaluronic acid serum on the market. And in my opinion, it's kind of an unsung hero, and it's also in almost everything skincare and hair related on the market. And I'm loving it, and it does almost the same thing as hyaluronic acid. And the product I've chosen is Glycerin, and I'm sure you've probably heard of Glycerin or seen it in the ingredients list. So I want to go over the similarities of hyaluronic acid and glycerin. Both of them retain moisture. They do it in a slightly different way, and hyaluronic acid in some areas may be considered a little better, but it also has its downsides. We'll go over some of those. So remember earlier when I was talking about the molecular size and how that matters? Well, here's one of the ways that glycerin shines over the hyaluronic acid. Molecules are measured by like a Dalton measurement, and glycerin's Dalton molecular number is around 92. And hyaluronic acids is anywhere between 5,000 and a million. That's a pretty big difference. So basically think of it as if you've got a bunch of little holes that are, say, the size of a dime, and the molecular structure of the serum you're trying to get to penetrate into it are the size of a nickel. Well, it's not going to get in there. It's going to just sit on top. Low analogic. That just basically means that the glycerin can penetrate deeper than the hyaluronic acid. Now, the hyaluronic acid can technically hold more moisture than the glycerin. However, the hyaluronic acid's effects are shorter term and the glycerins are longer term. There are differences, but they are minor. So that's kind of why I have chosen to let my body make the hyaluronic acid that can build my skin from the inside out. And then we're just going to go in here with the glycerin and build that good moisture barrier. Hyaluronic acid can also be a little moody. And what I mean by that is hyaluronic acid either pulls moisture from the air into itself, or it pulls the moisture from within your skin to the surface. So depending on the humidity. So that is 100% why it's very important when you use hyaluronic acid. You don't want to go and not put anything over it. Otherwise, it's just going to pull moisture out of your skin to put it into the atmosphere. That's just what it does. It's pulling moisture. So the solution to that is that you would put the moisturizer, the tallow face cream, some sort of barrier over the hyaluronic acid. And that way you're going to occlude it from being able to pull this moisture out of your skin to evaporate into the air. Now, glycerin pretty much just pulls moisture from the environment into your skin. So when you get out of the shower or you just wash your face while your skin's still moist, that's when I like to apply my glycerin, and we'll show you how to make that here in a minute. But I like to apply the glycerin, and I let that get, and I even put it down on my neck and on my chest, all up around my eyes. One of the good things about glycerin is it's not an irritant, and there are very few people that have a problem with glycerin. That's why you will see it in almost all of your skincare products. I could go on and on about the differences, but really in a nutshell, they're pretty similar. So if you do want to use a hyaluronic acid and you're looking to purchase it, please read the labels well. And if it's a name or an ingredient that you can't pronounce or you do not know what it is, get on Mr. Google Pants, click in there, and before you know it, you'll have an answer of whether it's toxic or something that you want to put on your skin, which therefore is going into your body. And if you wanted to go the route to make a hyaluronic acid serum, it really didn't seem that difficult. It just wasn't something that I wanted to fool with, actually. And there are many recipes on Pinterest if you just really are itching to go try that out. But read the recipes, read the whole articles. There were some really good recipes, and there were really some not so great recipes. If they are telling you you do not need a preservative, then you only mix up a small amount, and you will need to keep that in the refrigerator for 3 to 5 days max. And there are some natural preservatives that are fine that you can order and make hyaluronic acid yourself. And I have a lot of people in the comments that do make their own serums, and you all feel free, get in the comments, talk back and forth, and we can learn from each other. I think it's a great way to share community. The glycerin that I'm using is just temporary. This would not be my preference. Now, I guess it's probably fine. I wanted something organic. I have some food grade organic glycerin ordered that I can also use when I do my herbal remedies. And but I wanted to go ahead and get started on it. I ordered mine from Azure Standard. I'll link some different ones that I think would be a good place to start. And then we'll get to mixing some of this up, and I'll tell you how I use it here in a minute.
I'm mixing this in a 3-to-1 ratio. What that means is I use 1 part glycerin and 3 parts water. I did 1 teaspoon of glycerin and I did 3 teaspoons of water, and that is a distilled or filtered water. And this may vary depending on the thickness of your glycerin. If it's too thick or sticky, add a little more water, and if it's runny, add a little more glycerin. You just adjust it to your preference. I prefer an organic, all plant-based glycerin, and glycerin is derived from heating the coconut oil or the flax oil at a controlled temperature and pressure at a range and environment and the conditions to ensure that the oil doesn't degrade in a harmful way. And I like that. Again, I prefer glycerin that's organic, non-GMO, derived from flax as my first choice, and coconut oil as my second. I'll link in the description these little glass bottles as well, and I'll see if I can't find a little funnel. When you're putting this in, hold the funnel up a little bit. It allows it to flow in smoother. And I am also going to link 3 choices. One from Azure Standard is the one I got, and I have listed here in the description 2 of the glycerins that I found on Amazon that I would be comfortable buying myself.
I am really loving the results that I'm getting from the glycerin. I mean, even better than the stuff that I'd been using in the past, um, that had all the ingredients in it that I'm trying to stay away from. I'm probably going to get me some rose water, and basically you could spritz your face and neck and chest with a little bit of that rose water and just get that moisture on your skin, and then put a little bit of this on your fingertips, tap it around, tap it around. That way you'd get it evenly dispersed, then start rubbing it around. So then we've got the moisture on, we let it dry a bit, and remember the skin barrier, that's when I come on with the tallow. At night I use castor oil, and in the day I use my tallow. In the morning after the castor oil, you wake up and your skin just feels so plump and dewy. It's lovely. I received a lot of really good questions from you guys about the face tallow cream, and I think I need to do a part 2. We will address some of the questions, so hop over there, watch that video, and put your questions that you may have in the comments. And we'll whip up a couple more recipes, and we'll probably even whip some up. And some of you asked about some honey. We might whip some up with some honey. There's so many more videos out there that we can explore. Yummy skincare ingredients, exfoliation, more ways we can eat our skincare. I thank y'all so much for hanging out with me. My name's Loanna, and this is a Little Bit of Homestead.